Every Christmas morning in our family, my mom insists on a strict ritual. We wake up early, make coffee and hot cocoa, and then gather around the tree to open gifts one by one. It's always been a chaotic, joyful affair. But 3 years ago, something broke that tradition, shattering the festive spirit and leaving behind a lingering shadow of unease. We were about halfway through the gift opening, the living room a cheerful mess of wrapping paper and ribbons, when my younger sister, Chloe, pulled a package from behind the tree. It was wrapped in plain brown paper, tied with rough twine, and had no tag. We assumed it was just one of those mystery gifts relatives sometimes send without a clear sender, or perhaps a secret Santa gift that had been misplaced. My dad, ever the joker, declared it the cursed fruitcake and encouraged Chloe to open it. Chloe, with a giggle, tore into the paper. Inside wasn't a fruitcake, but a small wooden doll. It was crudely carved, perhaps 6 inches tall, with disproportionate limbs and a slightly oversized head. Its face was blank, no mouth or nose, but its eyes were 2 tiny obsidian beads set too close together that seemed to stare with an unnerving intensity. It wasn't cute, it was unsettling, the kind of thing you'd find in a dusty antique shop and immediately put back. "Oh," Chloe said, her smile faltering, "it's unique." My mom, always trying to be polite, managed a forced laugh. "It certainly is, honey. Maybe Aunt Carol's new hobby?" We all tried to make light of it, but an unspoken chill had settled over the room. The doll sat there, on the pile of crumpled wrapping paper, its black eyes seeming to follow us as we continued opening gifts. The real strangeness began almost immediately. Later that day, my mom's antique porcelain angel, a centerpiece of her Christmas decorations for decades, mysteriously fell from the mantelpiece and shattered. A freak accident, she said, but it had been secure. Then, the next day, my dad's brand new smartphone, a Christmas gift he'd been ecstatic about, inexplicably stopped working, completely bricked. 2 expensive, unfortunate occurrences, all within 24 hours of the doll's arrival. The doll, which Chloe had tried to place on her dresser, kept reappearing in odd places. First, it was on the kitchen counter, then sitting on the edge of the bathtub. One morning, I found it staring up at me from my own pillow. It became a morbid game, this Where's Waldo with a demonic twist. No one admitted to moving it, and we started locking doors to individual rooms, but still, it would turn up. My parents, who were initially dismissive, started to get genuinely unnerved. My mom suggested we get rid of it. Chloe, surprisingly, was resistant. She said she felt sorry for it, like it was lost and needed a home. It was an argument, one of the first truly heated ones we'd had that Christmas. After a particularly bad week where our car broke down, my mom lost her wallet, and Chloe developed an inexplicable, persistent cough, my dad took matters into his own hands. He drove the doll far out into the woods, intending to bury it. He dug a deep hole, tossed the doll in, and covered it with dirt and rocks. He came home feeling relieved, almost triumphant. But the next morning, as we came down for breakfast, there it was, sitting on the kitchen table, right in the center, amidst the untouched fruit bowl. Its obsidian eyes seemed to gleam in the morning light. My dad's face went white. We knew then, this wasn't just an unwanted gift, it was something else entirely. We tried burning it in the fireplace. The wood wouldn't catch fire. We tried throwing it into the river behind our house. The next day, it was sitting on the front porch, dripping wet, but otherwise unharmed. It felt like we were trapped in a cruel joke, a never-ending cycle of dread. Chloe's cough worsened, and she started having terrible nightmares. My mom became withdrawn, jumpy at every shadow. My dad, usually so robust, seemed to age 10 years in a month. The doll brought a miasma of misfortune and fear into our once happy home. Eventually, we consulted an old family friend, a woman who had a reputation for understanding things beyond our ken. She took one look at the doll, her face paling, She explained that it was a grief doll, a vessel for a tortured spirit, often used in old folk magic, and once it imprinted on a family, it was nearly impossible to remove without specialized, dangerous rituals. She advised us to contain it, to keep it locked away in a consecrated space, and never, ever let it out. We encased the doll in a heavy lead box, which was then sealed within a wooden chest, and that chest was buried in a specially prepared spot in the deepest part of our backyard, a spot she blessed with salt and herbs. The incidents slowly stopped. Chloe's cough disappeared. My parents regained their composure, but the memory of that Christmas and the chilling presence of the unwanted gift remains. Every year, when Christmas approaches, I still glance nervously at the spot in the backyard, wondering if the lead box is truly holding its terrifying secret. My job as a security guard was usually mundane. Long, quiet nights, mostly spent patrolling empty office buildings, checking doors, and making sure no one was secretly trying to use the executive boardroom for a slumber party. But Christmas Eve, 3 years ago, was different. I was assigned to the old Sterling & Sons building downtown, a massive 20-story structure that was usually bustling but would be completely deserted for the holiday. I actually didn't mind working holidays. The extra pay was nice, and there was a strange peace in the complete emptiness of such a large place. The city outside was aglow with festive lights, a beautiful contrast to the dim, utilitarian lighting of the building's interior. As midnight approached, I began my rounds, starting from the ground floor and working my way up. The building was old, and like all old buildings, it had its quirks. The occasional creak, the groan of the heating system, the flicker of fluorescent lights. I was used to it, but as I ascended to the higher floors, the usual quirks began to morph into something else. On the 12th floor, the lights in the main hallway began to flicker erratically, not just a quick blink, but a sustained, almost rhythmic on and off, like a macabre strobe light. I checked the circuit breaker, but everything seemed fine. Then, on the 15th floor, I heard it, a faint, almost imperceptible sob. It sounded like a woman crying. I stopped dead, listening intently. Nothing, just the hum of the ventilation. I shook my head, blaming my tired ears. It was Christmas Eve. My mind was probably playing tricks. As I continued my patrol on the 16th floor, I distinctly caught a glimpse of movement in my peripheral vision, just as I passed a bank of reflective glass windows. A dark shape, humanoid, quickly darting out of view. I spun around, my flashlight beam cutting through the shadows. Nothing, only my own reflection, looking pale and nervous. The feeling of being watched intensified, raising goosebumps on my arms. I was due to check the 21st floor, the very top, which housed the executive suites. This floor always had an oppressive atmosphere, a lingering sadness. Years ago, I'd heard whispers about a young secretary who had tragically died there on Christmas Eve, falling from a window during the office Christmas party. The official ruling was an accidental fall, but rumors of a broken heart and something more sinister persisted. As I stepped off the elevator onto the 21st floor, an icy blast of wind hit me, despite all the windows being closed. The air felt heavy, thick with sorrow. The flickering lights from the 12th floor seemed to resonate up here, casting dancing shadows. Then I heard it again, much clearer this time. A woman sobbing, right down the hall. Not faint, but raw, choked with despair. My heart hammered against my ribs. I knew what I was hearing. It wasn't the building. It wasn't my imagination. I gripped my flashlight, my knuckles white, and slowly, cautiously, I moved towards the sound. The sobbing led me to the last office at the end of the hall, the one directly facing the street, the one from which the secretary was said to have fallen. The door was slightly ajar. I pushed it open, my flashlight beam slicing through the darkness. The office was empty, furniture covered in white sheets, but standing by the large bay window, her back to me, was a figure.
A woman, dressed in a simple dark dress, her shoulders shaking with silent sobs. Her hair was long, dark, and seemed to ripple in an unseen breeze. "Hello?" I managed to croak, my voice barely a whisper. Are you all right?" The figure slowly turned. I gasped, stumbling backward, nearly dropping my flashlight. She had no face. Not truly. Her features were indistinct, blurred as if seen through frosted glass. Yet her empty eye sockets seemed to bore into me with an unimaginable sorrow and pain. A chilling moan, filled with an ancient, unbearable grief, emanated from her, seeming to resonate in the very bones of the building. I didn't wait. I spun on my heel and ran, bolting down the hallway, not caring about protocol or dignity. I slammed the emergency stairwell door open and flew down flight after flight of stairs, not stopping until I burst out onto the ground floor, gasping for air, my chest burning. I punched out, ignoring the alarm that chirped mockingly as I left. I never went back to that building, not even to collect my last paycheck. I quit my job that night. The image of that faceless, weeping woman seared into my mind. Some places hold on to their secrets and their sorrows long after the living had moved on, and some spirits, especially on Christmas Eve, just want to be remembered. I hope that poor secretary finally finds peace, because the memory of her haunts me still, especially when the city lights twinkle on a cold, quiet night.